love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything.
Borderlands 4 has been almost out a week now, and I've had such a blast theory crafting some builds and gathering the supplies to make it work. And during my theory crafting I loved the sound of Rafa, so I chose him as my first hunter to play as, and I'm so happy with that choice. Rafa really does have a lot going on in his skill trees, but if you're after one-shot worthy damage for mobbing and bosses alike, well, he's the perfect pick to run. So in today's video, and for my first covering Borderlands 4, we'll be taking a look at my Ricochet Rafa build, ideal for tackling Ultimate Vault Hunter level 5 difficulty and below. We'll talk what setup you'll want for mobbing, as well as the ideal changes for gear for swapping to boss farming, and we'll cover everything that you need to be able to pull off clips like you've seen in the background, including skill tree points as well as gear. So if all that sounds good to you, what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Alright then guys, so let's take a minute to understand the basics of the build and what you need to know to pull this all together. The main pull or gimmick of this build revolves around landing ricochets to deal damage or even spawn more instances of that weapon's damage in other cases. Now ricochets are a mechanic that allows a weapon to deal with multiple targets, most commonly found on Jacobs type weapons where a crit will cause a ricochet to find another nearby target and then deal that damage again. Now with this mechanic and through the use of Rafa's skill tree, we can make those ricochets deal even more damage when they find new targets, which is ideal for easier mobbing, and even better when it comes to bossing with weapons that have multiple projectiles. Now when it comes to the mobbing side of things, Rafa can use his Peacebreaker cannons, as well as his Jacobs base weaponry to dish out that nasty damage, one-shotting most mobs in the game, ricocheting around to other targets, and keeping his damage bonuses going. Now for the bossing side of things, those Peacebreaker ricochets are a little bit less necessary, so we'll primarily look for a kill from our weaponry instead, with the ideal setup using our ordnance, as well as that Jacobs licensed weaponry. Now all of our power boosts work around Rafa's action skill, so more specifically the trait that comes with its activation, which is going to be called Overdrive. Now how this works is that with his action skill is up and active, the timer is filled and paused, and he gains the boost for that full duration, but once that skill goes away, you'll have 12 seconds of that boost before that also disappears. Now at base, this boost does provide Rafa 10% more damage and 25% faster move speed, with other boosts to be grabbed from the skill tree. The more that we can work around these boosts, the better that Rafa will feel in the field. So let's kick it off by talking his skill tree and how we're allocating those points. We'll be focused on the red tree here for all of those juicy bonuses to Overdrive, as well as being able to take advantage of those boosts to ricochets, so much so that all of our 49 points will be popped into this tree. Now there's a good chance that I'm absolutely going to be butchering some of these perk names, so please bear with me as I try to give it a go. Now our first points will be popped into CTR, which is going to be giving us even more gun damage, which is always a good thing. And then dropping down the next row, 5 points will go into Yerga, which is going to be giving us a way to keep our action skill going while it's active, and this won't be needed when it comes to the bossing, but is an absolute godsend for the mobbing aspect of the build, and we need 5 more points to drop a level inside the skill tree. With that now done, we've put 3 points into El Valiente, giving us up to 30% more damage bonus based on our shield, but this bonus then doubles if we're at max capacity. Unfortunately, we've got ways to keep this bonus going in the mobbing, as well as abusing it for our bossing build, so this bonus is pretty huge for this build. Alongside that, we're dropping 4 points into Resiliencia, which is going to be giving us a huge 25% damage reduction for anything coming our way, but this can also help us to offset the extra damage that we'll take inside of UVH5, which is giving us plenty of tankiness to hand. And then from here we have 3 new sections which are going to open up for us, with the left side being Ricochet focused, right being Overdrive, and the middle being his status effect branch. And from this we'll be spreading out a little, with left and right being fantastic bonuses, and middle helping us out with our base damage per shot. So from left to right, 5 points into Asymmetric Warfare as it's needed for the tree progress, but it also massively helps us with our ricochets and our action skill damage. And then we've got 5 points into Errant Spark, which is boosting our ricochets into incendiary damage, along with providing double the bonus if it's incendiary to begin with on the initial shot. 1 point into Hostile Acquisition to give us a little bit of lifesteal, which is just enough considering all the ricochets that will be landing. And then lastly, with the left tree, I put 1 point into Lateral Plinking, which is giving all of our ricochets 25% chance to ricochet even further, allowing in the case of our botting setup to spawn so many instances that it produces the fabled one-shot. Now for our middle tree, 5 points will be going into Vitriol, which is boosting our first shot after a reload by 55% through corrosive damage. Now this works with our main mobbing weapon of choice only having one shot in its mag, but also any underbarrels as they seem to count being full from recharging as a reload. Now more damage means harder hitting ricochets, so we'll gladly take the damage boost that's here. And then our last tree on the right will be wanting to go into Heavy here, as this gives us a lot of damage as well as movement speed, which is perfect for our Specialisations, all compounding into even more damage buffs. So for our first selection, this depends on if you have the Dancer class mod or not, but if you do, 5 points into Barrage is going to be the best shout here, which is going to be giving us even more splash damage, but if you don't have the Dancer mod just yet, then going 5 into your Everdrive is actually going to be your best bet, which is boosting the duration that you have of your Overdrive after your skill ends. Regardless of the choice, you'll want to max out the next row down, putting 5 into both Devil May Care as well as Temerario. DMC is going to be giving you a huge boost to your movement speed and HP regen in this setup, while also helping you with the skill cooldown rate should you ever need to get it back from a fight. While Temerario will also be making our hipfire less accurate, but provides a huge boost to our damage per stack, going all the way up to 100% boost at max stacks, and with a +5 from the class mod. Now the last mod of Soltado is a must pick for the mobbing side of the build, providing double the effect of all of your overdrive passives when you're getting that kill, and with the Dancer class mod you can have this point already allocated for you, meaning that we can place this around as we've just spoke, but if you ever need a point to help you get this unlocked, you can take a point from Rella Zincia and be able to pop that in there until you get that right roll. Now for our skill augments, there's really 2 options that you can run here for the latter, affecting what your weapon your Peacebreaker is going to be shooting. Now for our first though, it has to be Instinto, which is giving the turrets a chance to crit and deal more damage, but more importantly has a kill skill attached to increase their duration at the cost of draining faster as it stacks up those kills. Now as we want our overdrive bonuses to be able to stick around for longer, the duration restore is perfect for those longer engagements. Now as for the latter augment, there's merit to both the double alt shotguns and the volatile hollow points, as the shotguns do ricochet and cause nice mobbing damage, but the hollow points will be boosted by our barrage points in our skill tree for better initial damage. Both work, both do well, but to fit the ricochets more, the auto shot just really kind of has to take it for me. Now for the weaponry, we'll have one generic all-round weapon that's solid to use, and one purely designed for those bossing times. Now for the generic use, we'll be slotting in the Hot Slugger. This is a slug-based Jacob shotgun with the ability Blazing Barrel, where any kill, and not just with this gun, will trigger stacks of 30% more damage for 10 seconds, maxes out at 3 for that in total 90% more damage. But the bonuses don't just stop there, as with it being a Jacobs, any crit will cause that ricochet, making it ideal for mobbing, but also as it's a single shot gun, causing a reload after every single shot will get the bonus of Vitriol every time, which is resulting in each shot having that bonus 55% corrosive damage. And while this can be used for bossing and just on a slightly slower scale, our second weapon takes care of that in spades, so if you're better off swapping to that instead. Now if you're after one of these weapons yourself, you can farm this from Callous Harbinger of Annihilating Death, which is located in the Craven's Nook bunker. Speaking of, our second weapon and our boss killer is going to be the Kickballer, my first shiny drop and an absolute beast at destroying bosses with ricochets. Mine currently is in Cryo, with any element is fine to use, but Incendiary would be the best in slot due to that extra bonus damage we can get from Errant Spark. Now the most important role on this gun though is going to be that Jacob's licensed accessory, as this will be what causes all the marvellous ricochets, melting anything unfortunate enough to be caught in the middle. Just chuck out your ordnance at the target you want gone, fire this at their feet, and then take cover, because if you're too close, get ready to say goodbye to your wallet. Now if you're in the market for one of these, best get fighting Sludgemore, which is found in Idolator's Noose after you complete that side quest all charged up. Now the other 2 slots can be whatever you like and the look of, or whatever you fancy using, but the 2 that we've covered were pretty much all that you're ever going to need, and that will just handle all the content for you. As for our 5 slots of gear, I'll cover the mobbing side of things first and then talk the changes needed for the pure bossing setup. Now, with our rep kit slot, the kill sprint is going to be fantastic here, which is going to be rewarding us for more mobbing by keeping us nice and healthy. Now, when we get a kill, any excessive damage will be turned into a healing orb that will then find you to be able to top up your health or even your shield if you're already maxed up. Now this combined with our skill tree bonus giving us 60% more damage based on how full our shield is, just means more consistent damage, and for that second roll, not much really matters too much here, but Amp is very tasty for taking out strong elites or bosses without swapping the loadout. Now this can be looted as a will drop, but is farmable from Axmal in the Toil of Spoiling V's Organ Mine. For the Ordnance, the community favourite crit knife is a must-have here, making all of our follow-up shots going to be critical for 5 seconds, as well as being able to deal more damage. This purple pretty much can drop anywhere, but if you want the best slot in here, the top 2 rolls are what we're actually looking for, with damage amp payload and penetrator augment being all that you need. The third pretty much can be anything, and then you're pretty much good to go, so make sure you just start farming some bosses and then just checking all of your purple drops. For the class mod, Dancer is going to be the best slot in here, obtainable by farming Indomitable Soul, but isn't too necessary and you can get away with a very well spec'd up purple. Dancer does give us a huge 100% bonus to our overdrive bonuses while that skill is active, but means that we won't get anything after it ends, so that does mean that duration is going to be key here, especially when it comes to mobbing. Now this absolute god roll here does give me the best damage possible, with 1 point into Soltado freeing up a point as it doesn't seem to stack, as well as giving 5 points into Temerario for a whopping 50% damage boost before it gets doubled, and doubled again via Soltado and the Dancer mod effect. Now if you haven't got Dancer just yet, then a purple is still absolutely fine as long as it does spec into the red trees, like for this one example. As long as it's got those boosts and rolls at the bottom into damage like kinetic or shotgun damage, that will cover you until you manage to get one to drop. For the shield, the absolute best in slot right now is going to be Fireworks, working nicely with that extra damage bump from the Hop Slugger, while also reliably taking out targets as you go around popping your shot off. Now I currently have an Incendiary shield which works absolute wonders, but any element really kind of works, and we're only after the bundled effect for when we want to land that killing blow. Now this can be farmed from Splash Zone pretty easily, the first boss that you do come across for the Moxie Encore machine, so there should be no excuses for picking this one up. And then lastly we have our enhancement, which I got lucky and had this Jacob's legendary one drop for me, but the rolls at the bottom are kind of less than ideal. But this can be replaced with a perk called Jacob's one, as long as it has the special effect of Bounce Pass, granting any Jacob's gun the ability to ricochet once more than normal. Now while this slugger will enjoy the extra chance to land a kill, the real benefitter of this is going to be Kickballer, allowing it to multiply its instances substantially, getting us that one shot on targets. This in combination with the knife easily fills the room with bouncing orbs, spelling certain doom for anything in its way. And while this can still boss effectively, we can make it a bit more catered towards maxing out the damage by swapping a few pieces over. So for example, by swapping out our Killspring Rep Kick for a purple that does have rolls into Amping in Rage, we can squeeze out even more damage on our single shot by activating this as we drop into the boss arena. We can also swap out our Fireworks shield for something a bit more suitable, so I do tend to use this one, whether we try for more damage with the Amp roll on any shield, or we try to survive any kind of boss by using the Onion shield, where if we take damage that isn't fully going to kill us, we can survive for 2 seconds, which just gives us an extra chance to make it out of the kind of like firing range or anything like that. Now upon testing, this isn't that consistent in any kind of degree, so don't feel like if you swap this on, you're just going to be surviving every single nuke that you're going to be dropping. It doesn't quite work like that, but it does tend to save you every now and then, but the damage is still going to be more than enough to just kind of knock you in one instant, but a chance is still a chance. So if you wish to give that a go, you can also farm this shield at the same places where you can get the Kickballer, and that is going to be Sludgemore. Now as for the firmware, it's pretty much the same for both builds with a 3 slot in of Deadeye. We're also going to go for a 1 of the God Killer for bosses and elites. This isn't fully set up just yet because I am looking to be able to grab more resources, but I am looking to swap one of these God Killer ones out to be able to go for Heating Up, which is going to be helping us offset that reload downtime, especially in the case of our Slugger Shotgun, only having that one shot before the need to reload. For our specializations, 40 points will essentially get you all the perks you ever need, with further buffs going into Brute afterwards for even more damage from your gun. Now, dropping 20 points into Sharpshooter is going to get you the first point, which is going to be 1 shot, 1 kill. This takes your excessive damage from a kill and stores it ready for that next shot, making chains from 1 kill next to the next pretty much like so much easier. It's just kind of like a blast, you can just walk through it. If we do go for 10 points into Runner, this will also unlock the Daredevil node, but it also grants us our second perk, which is going to be Bullet Train, which provides us more damage the faster we move. As Overdrive gives us more movement speed, along with all the other perks grabbed from the tree, we can massively increase our damage output just by sprinting around. And then we can also drop 10 points into Daredevil. I do have 20, but 10 is actually the sweet spot, which is going to be helping us with our skill cooldown. But more importantly, it does give us access to our other 2 perks of Now with Caffeine, which is going to be giving us a 25% skill cooldown on using our Rep Kit, as well as the I Am a Gun boosting our our action skill damage, along as with like 50% of our gun damage, and because we're massively leaning into that with everything to do with the build, you can see as to how our action skill is going to be helping us out, especially in the mobbing side of things. So this is going to be our effective way of being able to deal with it, and we'll be mopping up that gun damage so hard, like we can actually stay inside of our action skill all the way. And with all that out of the way, that wraps it up for my Ricochet Rafa, one of the strongest builds out there right now once you have it built up right. Now, overall, I'm loving Red Tree Rafa, and it really does make my farming runs much easier being able to one-tap bosses, even in a co-op setting and on Ultimate Vault Hunter 5 difficulty. I'll be looking into other builds for him soon, but if you're looking for the best way to run him for story, leveling, or even farming, then you've come to the right build and the right video. And so this section I want to hear from you. What are your current thoughts on Borderlands 4? What tree would you like to see next for Rafa? And then lastly, what's your favourite weapon currently in the game? Let me know all that and more down below. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video. As I always say, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.